Well, good afternoon. Welcome back to another live stream here. My name is Jeremy. Thanks so much for joining. I was tapped in the creative poll, um, which I did. The first one I was trying to attempt, it wouldn't, for whatever reason, um, didn't go through the way I had anticipated. So, if you want to just join in the fun, just a basic question of how long you folks have been maintaining or within the overall fish keeping hobby. Simply if it's less than 10 years or more than. But yeah, that was basically the only two options that it allowed me to add. I couldn't add any more. If you guys are new to the channel, I definitely appreciate it. Of course, we have Frank Dominguez. Seems to be as first as always. How long has it been if you're lurking in the background there, Frank? I know it's been quite some time. I think you probably still hold the record. We have S in the house. Hello, Eba Heat, if I'm saying that right. Hello. Always great to see you in here. And then Poppy Shrimp, or Pop. There's another channel that's similar to that, but Pompey Ranch. If I apologize if I misspoke there, but said hello. First time. This will be the first live stream with Sergeant Tank. I am so excited. Well, we're excited to have you here. For more about us, you can check us out. Information down in the description below. You don't have to leave the live stream, but once this concludes, you can obtain more information about us over at sergeanttank.com. Today's really is not a topic based. It was hit or miss based on the weather forecast. However, that's since moved out of our area, so I don't have to be worrying about interruption within the overall interwebs, hopefully. So should be all clear now. And hopefully notifications are going out for you guys. If not, unfortunately, there isn't much I can do about it. Just ensure that you guys are subscribed. If you enjoy this type of content, you hit that little notification bell and then all notifications, and that will alert you essentially if everything is working well over on our community posts as well. So I always share this over on community posts, any updated information, even via our website, will also be over on the community post. You can follow us over on Instagram as well as on our business page, which is Sergeant Tank LLC over on Facebook as well, and Sergeant.Tank over on Instagram. If you just Google us, Sergeant Tank or Sergeant Tank LLC, you can find all that information as well. Hope everybody had a great weekend, no matter where you're at. Hope that you guys are having a nice day. So feel free to go ahead and put at Sergeant Tank, no spaces in there. You can see the spelling of the name right there in the bottom lower third on the left-hand side of the screen. Pompey Ranch. I got a $2 super sticker. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Of course, we reinvest all of any type of monetization here on YouTube right back into what we're doing here on YouTube. So we've had a bit of obviously a hiatus. Any new folks that may be watching this in the replay, again, we do appreciate it. Just continue to bear with us as we continue to press forth and try to provide some content here on the platform. So it's been pretty chaotic and whatnot, but again, just bear with us, and we'll continue to try to do these at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each and every Monday afternoon. So again, depending on where you're at in the world, of course, that may be in the middle of the night for some, later in the evening for others. Again, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday afternoon. We typically try to get these scheduled out a little bit in advance. Again, ensuring that subscription is clicked, as well as notifications and all, and over on the community post too. So when you go to our main YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Sergeant Tank, it'll bring you to the main landing page. And at that point, you can go ahead and click on community and see any updated information there. We got Muppet929, so hello, everyone. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. Again, at Sergeant Tank, no spaces. And if you have a specific question for me here today, I'll do my best to go ahead and address that for you. Again, open topic to overall freshwater aquaria. That could be breeding, could be club related, could be overall husbandry, live food starter cultures, online website, you name it. We're here to try to support and help you guys. So while we're kind of waiting for some questions to come in, again, I talked about this in the past. If you guys are not aware, it's always the weekend before Thanksgiving. It's the Ohio Cichlid Association Extravaganza. Check it out when this is done. You just go to the OCA or Ohio Cichlid Association Extravaganza. Just Google it. If you're not over on Facebook, you can also check out any information. It's always a wise idea. Obviously, in the midst of what's been happening the last couple of years around the globe, it was kind of hit or miss if it was going to be an in-presence type of situation this year, which we were fortunate enough to find out when the last 2-3 months that it was confirmed. And of course, we'll be there. My buddy and I definitely looking forward to it. Just a time to hang out, meet other fellow hobbyists, some old friends, and that sort of stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's by far, personally, my favorite. If you're looking for a true hobbyist-related type of event, it's one that I just feel, even though it's classified as Cichlid Association, that doesn't mean that you're going to be going there. It's only going to be cichlid related. It could be catfish, it could be live bears, it could be rainbow fish, it could be killifish, a number of different specimens. Of course, room sales all throughout. It's just overall for the price, I want to say $69 for the entire weekend, Friday through Sunday. Of course, big auction on Sunday. Speakers each of those days. One of the best talks, and it sounds like through the grapevine, possibly even recorded. I don't know how that would be released, but if you guys have never had an opportunity, you're not going to find much via the interwebs. However, he's been talking for many years, and that's Charlie Grimes, by far one of my favorite entertaining related type of fish keeping talks. It's not necessarily appropriate for children, but for adults, it is definitely a very entertaining talk. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, even though I've heard it in the past. But it tends to always be switched up a little bit, yeah. So again, there's other speakers. Check it out. Again, Ohio Cichlid Association. Just Google it, and you can find out all the weekend pass information and that sort of stuff. But yeah, we got Mike Fish Tank Barn. How you doing, buddy? Found plenty of live bears at the OCA. Absolutely. Rico Stan, hello. Looking forward to the Keystone Clash. Yep. So a lot of great events happening. It's good to see things are moving in the right direction, kind of getting things back in person. So I'm definitely, like I said, I'm very excited for it. It's the one, the one I look forward to each and every year. All right. Trying to think other events. Just had an online presentation that I conducted this past Friday. If you guys aren't aware, it just depends on the schedule. Again, at sergeanttank.com. If you scroll down to the event section at the bottom of the website, there's a bunch of like frequently asked questions and that sort of stuff. All of that stuff, contact, all the information is there available for you guys in one spot. And it's by far the easiest way to find out more about what we have going on and that sort of stuff. So I encourage you guys, if you want to, when this is done, to check it out. And again, that's the event section, and any type of upcoming events that we'll be presenting to or being a part of when it comes to Sergeant Tank, then we'll get those listed on there. So it's hit or miss if I'm going to put public in the events when it comes to other club events, unless that's an open to public type of situation. Most events, one of the perks, obviously, when you listen to speakers and that sort of stuff, is to become a paid member. So I can't advocate enough the importance of how club life, as I would say. Anybody that's been following this channel for any period of time, I have covered in great detail many different aspects of club and club related type of activity. So you can always check that out in our repertoire of videos. Select Pet, hello. Oh man. And you guys will have to bear with me as well. I mentioned this last couple of live streams. Dealing with a lot of congestion due to some previous surgery that I had done the end of July. So I'm not going to go into the details on that, but you just have to bear with me. It's going to be a few months before that subsides, but that is why I'm may sound a little congested. Again, at Sergeant Tank, feel free to go ahead. I'm trying to think of any other information. This is an open discussion this afternoon. I don't have any specific topic today. Maybe next week I can go back to. I try to switch it up a little bit. So, Clubs Rock took off work today for the meeting last night. Right on. Let me check out that poll too while you guys are chatting here. Let me see. Let me be easy. Let me pull up on my phone real quick. If you guys didn't see, I did put a poll. I'm just curious where people are at within this amazing hobby of how long you've been actually maintaining freshwater aquaria. Let's see. Bear with me. Trying to pull it up here. Make sure my volume is off. Just out of curiosity, is the poll at all showing up for you guys? If it's not, I apologize. There's an old one there that I wasn't able to complete. So I just disregarded that one and I put in a new one. It is working. All right, give me just a second here. Okay. Yes, poll was there right on. Okay. I'm going to try to actually pull this up a second on my desktop. Let's see. More than 10 years, 70%. Very nice. Would have added more. However, that's all it was going to allow me to do was a 2. We got Matt in the house. Thanks. How you doing, buddy? Let's see. Eric B, it's been a bit. Hope you've been well, my friend. So it looks like it is working. Nice. Well, it's glad to see we have some folks in here that have been around for a bit. Can we talk about the marketing aspect of ornamental fish hobby a little bit? Yes. I can do a little bit of that for sure. So again, anybody, the only thing I can speak on obviously is my overall experience, and we've been dealing direct to consumer and wholesale, not as much wholesale at this stage. Talked greater detail about this in the past. Again, you can check this out. Just search our YouTube channel. I probably have gone in much more greater detail. But with that being said, since 2007, started out really at that time when your Neocaridina between your cherry shrimp, which was more or less the very common lineage that you would find from that standpoint, from a color morph. And then when you're dealing with your Caridina specimens, it was basically your crystal reds. Again, really at that time in that era was about mid 2000s. So I supplied literally thousands upon thousands of those. Again, I shared that story in much greater detail, which was really what reignited my passion to really take things to the next level. With that being said, when it comes to selling, unfortunately, just because I've been doing this for many years at this stage, one of the things I can say is obviously I won't disclose, just that wouldn't be wise from a business standpoint, specific numbers and that sort of stuff. However, what I can tell you is if you are in the market and you have the overall experience when it comes to understanding zones, understanding how things are transported, a very developed rapport with your specific carriers that you're using, good relationships with your local fish stores, good relationships with your local clubs. Again, for me, it was about really establishing long-term relationships even before I started really offering stuff via an e-commerce type of platform. Because I was supplying, and just out of confidentiality, I'm not going to mention the names, to some larger companies that specifically only go with contractual type of agreements with some of your larger fish farms. And that was because I developed very good relationships many years ago. And then it became to a point where I wanted to start kind of cut out the middleman and me offer more direct to consumer. So, at that point is when we started really offering in the last few years, more from an e-commerce point of view. Is shipping is one of those ones that I see, and I'm not going to mention names. However, the bit of time that I see, and I don't spend a whole lot of time via social media at this point, and I really haven't about the last 2 or 3 years. But when things are brought up via certain platforms, whether if that's Facebook or Instagram or even on YouTube, and I see just from a packaging point of view of how well that is packed. Anybody, again, if you go back, some of those videos I may have actually took down in the past. However, I still know that there's a few up on the channel where I actually went into great detail as far as the unpacking of specific packages. And we are very, very critical when it comes to how things are transported and really that whole adaptation and conditioning leading up before the point of in detoxification before the point of actual shipment. On top of obviously breeding all of our own stock and that sort of stuff as well. Obviously SEO through like search engine optimization. So if you can target and get really, really good at that, which we are really, really good at that. And I have been, and if you even search certain good dayets, for instance, pretty much ours is going to be one of the first ones that's going to pop up. I can tell you in the U.S. from the e-commerce point of view, to actually be able to add to a cart and have it shipped within the continental U.S. from that point of view. I'm not talking Aquabid or another type of, I'm talking at your own RAN like we do through our own website service is to be able to actually add to a cart and purchase, and that's various types of G'dayets. Again, I'm just using that as one example, but that's what we've been known for over the years is a lot of more of your uncommonly found types of freshwater aquatic pets that you can't necessarily just go into a local fish store or even potentially even go to a local club and obtain. And that's been our mission since 2007, and that will continue to be our mission as we continue to move forward. As I mentioned in the past, obviously we have things in the pipeline I'm not going to get into right now, but I can tell you that's only going to get greater as time goes on. I have plenty of sources. I've had over the years plenty of folks from different regions that I'm not going to mention reach out in contact where they wanted to be a supplier to us. At that stage, that really is not necessarily our mission. Our mission, our focus is good condition and capitally bred, homebred specimens of freshwater aquaria from our door to yours. It's a matter of maintaining and keeping up with demand. All right. Let's see. Muppet929, I need some advice and guidance if I should be doing anything else. I found my bristlenose on his back. I tried to flip him over and stiffly flipped back on. It wasn't moving, just breathing. Put him in quarantine with salt. He is still on his back. So one thing I can tell you guys, I don't really spend a whole lot of time through the interwebs of addressing how, again, I've been doing this for years. There's one specific video I've shown, actually a couple here on the channel, where I've actually done surgical procedures. But one thing I can tell you is, obviously, hence our logo, I've been dealing with ancestris before really they're even cool. And when I'm referring to ancestris cirrhosis, your bristlenose plecos, that would be within your species 3, species 4 complex. You can check that out later if you have no idea what I'm talking about. I've talked about this in great detail before. One of the things I can tell you with bristlenose is if something gets lodged or if they're not on an appropriate diet. And I'm not saying that that is at all the case. Sometimes it could just be a fluke thing. It could be age. Trying to reverse what I would do if it's a bloat type of issue, if it's something that seems to be an obstruction. Obviously, there's only so much that you can do from a hobbyist standpoint. What I would start doing is, if you haven't tried it, is carefully, you can massage the abdominal area, and sometimes that may unlodge something that could be in there. But one thing I can tell you, and I've done specific dissections under microscope and that sort of stuff to identify potential issues in the past. And that was one of the main things I seen, especially with males. With females, it could be a blockage, especially if they're egg bound or something like that. But if it's a male, that's where I would start. Oftentimes I find with salt at that stage, and again, I'm just telling you what I would do. But salt, unless you're using Epsom salt or something like that, and you got to be very careful, especially those type of catfish, is it can potentially, at that point, they're probably not eating, it sounds like, if it's just on its back. Good oxygenation, obviously increasing that, and continue to monitor. But what I can tell you, again, sometimes it is hard to come back. And again, I could spend hours just talking about different aspects of that. But yeah, so hopefully it does come around. And again, I'm not trying to give you any negative hope. But it is unfortunate. Again, the more you get involved and the more you deal specifically with ancestris, it's not necessarily a very uncommon thing. If you're maintaining, obviously, one of their staple diets that work well to maintain good digestion is, I always preach on the importance of good dietary requirements, balance between carbohydrates and proteins with most specimens, and then also a good regimen of diet confusion and overall skip feeding. There are specimens that don't need to be fed. You shouldn't be feeding them every single day. None of your fish. As I mentioned before, people will be very surprised of how often we actually feed over 150 systems that we just have indoors, and still maintain really good volume and yields. And again, that comes down to years of experience. But and really knowing what it is that you're working with. So cucumber is a good one. You can use zucchini. You can use French style green beans. And again, obviously they're grazers, so they're constantly roaming around looking for food on a regular basis anyway, especially if it's a good seasoned tank. Heavily oxygenated, especially if it's a deeper system, with ancestris is a really good approach. So if you have some livestock, let's say in a given system, and it may not have the appropriate amount of turnover with overall oxygen exchange, if you're using a box filter, a sponge filter, something like that, especially if it is a deeper tank, that is something to keep in mind. That could be a recipe for future disaster. I've seen systems. I've helped many folks out over the years, especially if they're new into catfish or into ancistrus. And one of the first things I'll look at is the overall depth of that specific system. So let's say they're keeping them in a stock tank and it's, over 2 feet deep, and they notice a lot of bacterial issues, just a lot of health related issues. They notice that they're not able to maintain and keep these things alive in that sort of thing. Is the first thing I'm looking at is the amount of turnover, the amount of flow. So I wouldn't be keeping your ancistrus in a system where you may not be able to actually increase that turnover rate depending on the other aquatic organisms that are in there. So if you have some offspring, if you have maybe certain fish or invertebrates in there, that it may not be necessary to have, a decent amount of turnover, then you may want to, reintroduce them possibly to a secondary system. Let's see. 12 viewers and only 9 likes. Yeah, what's up with that? We got Secret History of Living in Your Aquarium. How you doing, buddy? It's been a bit. Hope you've been well, my friend. One thing I see here in India, fish keepers do when they have fish with air stuck inside the gut and float, they pick and drop the fish in a bucket or any tank water and act sort like CPR. Yep. Yeah, I've done some very some less extreme and more extreme approaches. But as I mentioned before, I don't really go into a lot of detail here on the platform. So when it comes to medicating and how to treat and that sort of stuff. Let's see. I'm interested in your thought. I'm up at 99's question. I think we just addressed that one. Rapashi seems to be polarizing food among pleco breeders. I've been breeding ancistrus a little over a year with good success in Rapashi and veggies. You can ask my buddy Dank Tanks here in the chat. No, I'm just teasing. So I'm not going to knock on any specific companies. Sure. If it's not broke, as I always mention it, there's no need to fix it. And that goes with life in general. So if you've been having success with it, I've made my own gel foods. I've talked about that before in the past. Yeah, I don't want it to turn into the next 30 minutes of an old school Jerome rant. But like I said, if it's working for you, by all means, continue to do what you're doing. I mentioned growing out bristlenose and systems, but I haven't heard a lot of detail. So very brief. Again, you can search my repertoire videos. I go in more greater detail during my actual in-person or via club type presentations on this specific thing here as well. Think of pheromones and hormones within the system. So I'm going to try to simplify this as easy as I can. So hormones being more, let's say, as an internal component, where pheromones are being more, let's say, expelled or broadcasted within a given system. So you could be on a multi aquarium related system. So you could have multiple tanks all hooked together. You could be individual. So the concept really is essentially the same. So keeping that in mind is with those pheromones as being broadcast, obviously something you can't see with necessarily your eye. However, you can see it based on the psychology and the overall behavior with these specific specimens. So using ancistrus, species 3, species 4 complex, which is many different between finish type, veil tail, which is your long fin, of course, standard, short fin, and your different color morphs. And with that being said, as the male essentially is broadcasting, and again, I'm trying to simplify this as easy as I can, overall pheromones, it's causing a constriction within the uterine of the female. And again, if you have multi-females within, several systems hooked together, you can see how that can actually incorporate and inhibit some type of and induce some type of that spawning behavior. On the flip side of that, same thing goes hand in hand. If you're looking at successfully raising up ancestress, you got to think about, and I talked about this the last couple of live streams, is the overall domestication approach that we've seen in the hobby. And what I mean by that is several generations in at this point. It's not like I'm going physically collecting a specimen from the wild, introducing it, conditioning it, adapting it, and now raising up, breeding it, and then reproducing. I'm talking several generations, several bloodlines in at this point. Is if you can maintain a continuous water supply, so a constant slow drip through, depending on your water source, to maintain the appropriate levels based on that specific species. So certain levels of bicarbonates, your certain level of overall pH in good water chemistry. So I'm saying over a 24-hour time frame on a consistent drip, maintaining constant drip, slow, steady over a 24-hour time frame, 24/7, 365. If you can do that, I can almost guarantee you, depending on your layout, you can even keep that system bare bottom. And it doesn't, let's say you're using a 55, a 75, whatever the case might be, a larger system, you've introduced those offspring, let's say they're at, quarter inch, half inch in size, you're feeding them like we just talked about a little bit ago, and you can incorporate that continuous drip. I'm not talking there's a major difference between a timed water change every 36 hours, 72 hours, once a week, once a day, over a continuous constant drip. And again, I've gone through and I have videos on the channel that will show some of our older systems when I used to run them that way. You can always check it out if you want. But that's my number one recommendation if you want good growth results. So ultimately, it's not being impeded by unnecessary issues. As I mentioned, that would be a good start. If you want to get them to a successful point, I'm talking where you can actually start essentially spawning those generations within, let's say 8 months to 12 months time frame. My Corys, Angels, and Placos all trigger one another. Yep, that goes right back to the component of causing that constriction within the uterine. But yeah, very good question. Let's see. We have Captain Spice in the house. It's always great to see you, my friend. Hope you have been well. Trying to think. So the other poll I was going to put up that wasn't working accordingly, because I would have had to put in several options, and it was last minute. So current poll is up. Just talks about the rough time frame you guys have been within the freshwater aquarium hobby. You can check that out. Just kind of being fun. So let's try to make this simple as possible. Let's use one if you have, okay, let me address the question first. So we'll kind of do like a little mini poll here within the chat, just kind of get some dialogue going. So I'm curious of how many actual species, I'm not talking different types of color morphs, actual individual species, have you guys spawned within your freshwater aquaria, within the hobby? Is it less than 5? Let's do 1. So just put in 1 if you've done less than 5. If you've done between 5 and 15, let's do 2. If you've done between 15 and 30, let's go 3. And if you've spawned successfully more than, let's say, 30 species, let's do 4. I'm just curious where you guys are at within your breeding. And the other thing would be is I'm not talking just one individual fry. I'm talking successfully you raised up, let's say, at least 10 of those offspring. So we have some 1s. We have a 4. I should have wrote that down. Here. I'm going to do that right now. What did I say? 5 and less is a 1. 5 to 10 is a 2. 10 to, what did we say? 10 to, no, I completely forgot. 10 to 15. Did I say 5 to 15? I think. I'm going to change it. 5 to 15 is 2. 10 to, or 15 to 30. I think I completely messed that up. 15 to 30 is 3, and then 30 and up is 4. That's what we're going with. All right. So if you guys are just joining just for fun, I want you to put right now on number 1, if you have spawned individual species, 10 or more, raised them up successfully, not different color morphs. And I'm not talking where you've spawned a group of fish and now you use those offspring, you raise them up, and then, I think you guys know what I mean. So 1, 5 or less, 5 to 15, 2, 15 to 30 species, 3, or 30 or more species, 4. So we have some 1s. Got some 4s. 0. I'm firmly at 5. What should I pick? Let's see. Do snails count? Sure. Why not? Let's say excluding live food starter cultures, because that can be a bit controversial. When it comes to, so anybody that has been a part of an aquarium club and understands the Breeders Award program, this is going to make more sense. If you're just kind of new into it, you may be like, I'm just getting new into breeding, and that's perfectly fine. There's no right or wrongs. This is just for fun. So we have a couple of 4s. All right. So to make it even more interesting, so those folks who have put the 4s for the 30 or more species, at least 10 you've raised up successful of those individual species. How many have done 50 or more? Put 5. If you have done 50 or more species, based on the criteria I mentioned, put the number 5. We got 5. All right. This is getting fun. If you've done 70 or more, put 6. The number 6 if you've done 70 or more. Individual species, at least 10, and you've raised those up successful. We've got 6. If you have done 100 or more species, put 7. I'm curious of where you guys think I'm at. So, as you can tell, and the other thing is I'm going to be going into next is diversification. So that means within 1 year, a 12-month time frame, consecutive, have any of you guys met a diversification award recipient? And what I mean by that is essentially you think of every family of fish and you've spawned at least one fish within each family that you can think of. So that could be, let's say, live bears, killifish, rainbow fish, goby, um, uh, cyprinids, kerosene, catfish. Who has done, this is going to be, who has done 150 or more individual species, at least 10 that you've raised up successful? Still at one. This is fun. I enjoy this. Select pet, bred before I knew about BAP. Oh yeah. Many of us here most likely have, but unfortunately, it really doesn't count. So that's why I'm not focusing just on Breeders' Award program. I'm just talking species in general, not counting morse or the same species. That's awesome, Alex. 137. That's a very good, outstanding number. How many of you guys here have done over, let's say, the highest level of Grandmaster? So let's say over 450 species. Anybody done more than 450? And again, each club is going to be a little bit different, obviously, based on criteria. Our specific club, the way it works is you have to have at least, I talked about this before. You can check out, I have it in my repertoire videos where I've gone into great detail. I actually showed screen share and walk through all of that. What I enjoy about our specific club is the fact that the criteria is very straightforward. There's, of course, some things as we evolve that may change in the future. But it's 6, again, based on kind of what I mentioned here, individual species, potentially even subspecies, because as you know, especially with killifish, there's different types of locations and that sort of thing. So essentially 6, they have to be at least 60 days free swim, or if they're naturally birthed, like a live bear or something like that. You have to raise up at least 6 successfully, put them through an auction. You have to auction them off, and then that's how you would acquire 1 BAP point. There's other clubs where they'll actually add points based on the amount of spawns within, let's say, a certain species of fish. And you could even go back and keep churning in. That I'm not a huge fan of. I like it because it's very straightforward. So like in Alex's case, let's say his club is similar to ours. What that tells you is 137 individual species. So let's say you have 137. Essentially, you know that 137 means, hey, I've legit spawned, successfully churned in, BAP'd 137. But yeah, it can get a little confusing through some other clubs. But yeah. Not sure I can even identify 150 species. Cardinal Gas, how many are also raising corals, reptiles, or insects? Let's see. So one of the fortunate aspects of our specific club, just think for a moment of if you guys have never heard of like the North American Legacy Award recipient. So it's an old award that they used to do within the aquarium hobby. Basically recognizes individuals that have really exceeded above and beyond, specifically when it comes to different aspects of the hobby and overall breeding. And I'm talking, again, based on everything I mentioned and more, because we can even start diving into more when it comes to certain specialty award programs and that sort of stuff. But again, somebody I highly admire. I've done, I've talked about this individual before, but imagine at one club alone churning in well over 600 individual species of fish. This dates back to individuals starting essentially really into the hobby and breeding in 1952. So if that gives it any correlation, with those type of individuals, they probably have lost more knowledge than most of us will probably ever gain in this hobby. That is definitely a very ambitious goal, and that's at one club alone. So, but yeah, imagine cumulatively having well over 700 documented species. That's quite the quite the ambitious goal. Let's see. The clubs I'm in, points are valued based on difficulty of breeding. Yep, I appreciate that. I respect that. Again, that can be subjective. Our club tops out at master breeder. Then we can just repeat it. Gotcha. I don't know. I'm sure, Alex, you guys have maybe tossed this idea around before. Have you ever looked at going to like the next level of the Grandmaster? But you can add more Morse and things like Ancistrus, more 5 points. See, we don't have anything like that. Points are given based on difficulty of breeding. Yep. And again, that the difficulty of breeding can be subjective. That's one of the reasons why in our specific club, we don't necessarily, again, we have other programs available. But yeah, that kind of fall in. It's not necessarily that point the way you're mentioning it there. But it kind of would validate, you can get specific like expert and master breeder levels and specific families of fish and that sort of stuff, which kind of ties into a whole different conversation. There's also an award amount species spawn in a particular family. Right on. Do you guys have the diversification, the one I mentioned a little bit ago? I'm curious if you guys have that diversification award. Do you have an Aquarius of the Year award? Do you have a Writer of the Year award? Do you guys have Rookie BAP or Rookie Hap of the Year? Obviously, most clubs are going to have Breeder of the Year award. In our club, you can keep adding levels, repeating the same steps all over, but I wish we had something different that shows hold on, that shows how hard and how many species have been bred. Yep. All right, ran out of water. We'll keep this going just a few more minutes, you guys. Thanks for showing up and participating. Hopefully, I wasn't really anticipating doing this, so I really appreciate the dialogue and the interaction. Switch it up a little bit. Next week, Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will plan on doing another one of these here on the YouTube channel. So ensure that you guys, if you kind of enjoy this type of stuff, we'll dive back into probably a topic based that we'll put together for you guys next week. But I wanted to just switch it up this time. BP of the Year, right on. If you guys haven't looked into, if you guys don't offer, these are just other, these awards, you guys, we put a lot in through the club. Again, I'm not going to go, I've talked a lot about kind of like, just the cost alone on the type of awards we do. It's not cheap. We really try to recognize those who have accomplished certain goals within the club. Interested to hear differences in clubs. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I enjoy, definitely. I could talk about clubs all day long. Um, but yeah, it is interesting to see the variations throughout different clubs on points, and there isn't necessarily a right or wrong. Each club has. I'm just happy to see that clubs are actually doing programs, which is important. Also suggest there's diversification award to our club. Thanks for the idea. Absolutely. So yeah, we have also spawn of the year. That's one. Again, all these I mentioned, you guys have already obtained all of those. But the spawn of the year is one kind of that would tie into the most difficult in that year. So there's a couple here that have mentioned kind of the difficulty level. Again, that can be a bit subjective. So you try to use just years of experience, especially if you're on the board, and that sort of thing. Typically, with the Aquarist of the Year, that's elected by the president of the club. They would elect like somebody who has kind of gone above and beyond for club duties and that sort of stuff. Writer of the Year and that sort of thing. One who has published and edited and put together, good articles for the club, which is actually a requirement for ours, anyways. You have to each 10. So each 10. So essentially, you get like a tag for every 10 based on all the criteria that we've already talked about. Once you've established that 10 for your breeder awards program, you would have to essentially put together some type of article, some type of video, some type of good photos to kind of illustrate. And usually, it's obviously geared more in educational, kind of your experience working or breeding a specific family or species of fish, and then you would submit that over, and then that would be put public, and then that's how you would establish obtaining your each 10 level. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So that is one of the criterias so it's not just like you just turn these in or you put them through your auction. You also have to establish other criteria, which I like because it holds you to it. And folks should be passionate when it comes to writing, putting together video or articles for your club. So we don't have any serious clubs here in India, at least not where I am. Sometime it pops up. Yeah, it takes, again, that's something maybe I can talk about later on, go more into establishing a club. Again, I've held multiple roles and positions. I kind of talked about it before in the past, but that's something we can definitely maybe talk about in the future. In another club, we have first, second, and third place BEP winners. Right on. Ooh, cash prizes. Now that's an incentive. That's nice. So we used to do what was called fish bucks. Essentially, there's still a thing. But fish bucks essentially would be kind of look like a membership card. Something very simple rather than doing necessarily cash. The fish bucks would actually allow you. So let's say you enter into besides let's say the Breeders' Award program or other specialty type of award programs. It could be, let's say we have an aquascaping contest or something like that, and you've won certain levels. Kind of one of the incentives is to issue X dollar amount for fish bucks, which you could use at big auctions. You could use at what we call our not so mini auction at the end of each meeting. Those are another one that we've been doing for a lot of years that can also incentivize individuals to become part of these type of programs. Let's see. We have to photograph our spawns and then them at 90 days with 50-80% success, depending on the difficulty level. 5, 10, 15, and 20. With Guppy being 5, Rare Tetra being 20. Nice. Would be great if you could talk about clubs and related things in the future. Yeah, we just been super busy here, just between what's going on business wise, like I've talked about before, and obviously having a family. So, um, I used to bring in guests in that sort of thing, and yeah, we can definitely. I might even bring in for something like that some uh, fellows of the club and that sort of stuff, folks that have been around and kind of established where we're at. So that's definitely something I can look at possibly doing in the future. I enjoy doing that more anyways, especially here on YouTube. Uh, to kind of bounce ideas off from it rather than just me talking to the camera. It's nice to actually have somebody here as well. Yeah. Right now, I'm not going to mention just because of the word, but let's just say what we've been dealing with the last couple of years. Photos, videos of the fry is acceptable for points. Yeah, that's kind of how we've done it as well since the onset. At least it kind of encourages folks. Of course, I always encourage still, if you've been a part of that until you kind of get back into in-person activity, I would still encourage, even if you've done it in a video or photographic format, you tag, let's say you're on Facebook in your group, or you have to send it to the chairman for that Breeders' Award program. Same thing with the hat program. You send just a basic video or a photo identifying that you've met that criteria based on whatever your criteria is for your club. But my point to that is I would still encourage folks, once you are back in person, even now it's been a year, is to bring in, if you still are maintaining those, bring them in and then put them through an auction to still support your club. And again, most clubs obviously are on a split basis. So you could do a full out donate, meaning you donate 100% of the proceeds, or if it's a 70-30, 60-40, 50-50, whatever the split is between you and the club. It still is able to get your, take pride in the fact, hey, not only did I post a video or picture, but I'm also providing these to allow somebody else to work with them, raise them up, breed them. About 5 species right now I need to submit, including clipper barbs that were spawned last summer in the tub. Still have to go through this year's tubs to see if I have any fry. Nice. Let's see. Well, you guys, about one more minute. I know that we have roughly it's about a 20 or 30-second delay. So I'm going to give it about a minute or two, then we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody really. Any of the super stickers, super chats, I definitely appreciate it. I believe I addressed all those. If there's any I missed, I'll address them next live stream. But again, thank you for just being here, participating. Anybody new to the channel, I definitely appreciate it. You can always check out some of my old repertoire videos. There's still a lot on there to go through. And appreciate everybody just being patient as I kind of get back into the routine of things here, and bearing with me with this continual congestion after I've gone through nasal sinus surgery, like I mentioned. So still pretty miserable, but we're here. We're pressing forth, and yeah. We also do 25 points for creating our own line of fish. There's a list of requirements to be called a line. Nice. Interesting. Very nice. One of the other things too that we don't do any hybridization, so we don't essentially we don't allow for, you can still put them through the auction, but you just can't claim a credit for BAP when it comes to hybrids. So the club still allows, if you want to put them through an auction or the not so mini auction, that sort of thing at the end of each meeting. We still allow that, but I do like that criteria personally. Thank you, Jeremy, for all you do. Your info has been a big help getting a new local club started. I appreciate that. I do. And again, you guys, I try to get back to everybody that has reached out, whether it's via email, if it's here on YouTube. In all honesty, I haven't been much involved in social media. I'm not going to go into the details on that. Again, I'm trying not to get complacent and forget about this channel. I originally came to this channel a few years back with the intention to provide good educational content. It was never really a desire, as my wife and kids said, why don't you do it? There needs to be some good educational, hands-on, practical approach, and that sort of stuff on the platform. And I'm honored to do it. I'm privileged in a sense where I'm just honored in the fact that you guys show up and are a part of it. So we got a $5 super chat from The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. Thanks so much, buddy. I definitely appreciate it very much. And again, congratulations to you. I want to say you're at 137. And that's awesome. So continue to keep up the great work. Love small gourami. I catch them every rainy season. Some good color will be kept for an aquarium. Nice. Local fish store. Malabar sunfish. A couple of years. Whoop, chat jumped. Years ago. Wish I had picked them up. Yeah. Captain Spicy was wondering for Abahit, if I'm saying that right. I've asked this a long time ago. Hopefully I didn't completely mess up the name there, but he was wondering if you have any videos on them. So thank you. Hope you guys make it a great rest of the week. Again, look out for the community tab here on YouTube. Check us out over at sergeanttank.com. You can pick up, if you want one of these awesome mugs, front and back, along with any other Sergeant Tank merchandise. Of course, we've been dealing direct consumer and wholesale since 2007 for your captively and homebred conditioned aquatic organisms between live food starter cultures, direct from our door to yours. Check it out and check out all the updated livestock list. If it's not on there, I also encourage folks to check out the events tab at the bottom of the website, as well as you can check out frequently asked questions. Easiest way to get in contact if there's something on there that isn't specifically addressed. But that being said, you guys, again, thank you for the super stickers, super chats, and make it a great rest of your week. And we'll see you back here Monday, hopefully with a topic at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.